comes the smaller basic pack. It can process and store information for such functions as fire support, meteorology, and personnel administration.
Such as the Easter Bunny, with whom moms can have their kids photographed.
Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Cut Above the Rest.
Remember the center.
In my time, I have interviewed some of the most horrendous figures in crime. Fred West, Dennis Nilsson, and Ian Brady had nothing on these people I will be meeting this evening. In 1978, 1981, and 1984, these people murdered over 200 people in some of the most despicable and diabolical ways possible. Some preferred stabbing their victims to death with either a butcher knife or a machete, and one chap in particular used to terrorize people in their dreams. Yes, admittedly it all seems rather far-fetched, but it happened. Tonight, we will be delving deep into the minds of Michael, Jason, and Freddy. In a world where acceptance and forgiveness are now at the forefront of most people's minds, we can no longer oppress and shackle these people away. Instead, the once criminally insane asylums have now been turned into reformation centers, where people who once did despicable and heinous crimes are now turning their lives around and ready to be pumped back into society. Do these programs actually work? Or are they a new way for the government to prove we don't have a crime problem? Well, we'll see.
So before we meet our stars of the evening, I thought it might be best to catch up with a member of the staff here to see what it's actually like working with such people. Thank you for joining us, Nurse Ratchet.
No, thank you. I started working here in about 2002. At the same time, there had been a little incident involving Freddy and Jason. Lots of people were sadly killed and many people's lives destroyed, all because of some feuds they had years ago. Jason goes to Freddy's hometown and starts butchering a load of teenagers. Freddy got a little bit cross about this and went to Jason's hometown to do the same. Now, I'm not saying that anyone is to blame, but well, there's no smoke without fire.
So what happened then?
They were captured and brought here. Quite frankly, the townsfolk had had enough. When they arrived, they were put into isolation in titanium chambers. We managed to capture Freddy in the real world. If we went back to the dream realm, well, we would have had it. He's harder to get than unicorn piss.
And you are referring to the Freddy versus Jason story?
That's the one. Well, the newspapers hyped it up a bit, as they usually do. I never read the newspapers, to be fair. They spread so much negativity.
But several people were killed in this incident. You can't deny that. And surely that's a tabloid-worthy piece.
Well, that's not for me to say. All I know is that underneath their harsh-looking soulless faces, you'll find real human beings who have just as much right to be here as you and me.
Well, Michael had 8 chances, Freddy 9, and Jason 11.
Well, let's not split hairs.
So what's it actually like working here?
It's fine. You get stabbed occasionally, with the odd strangling here and there, but once you look past that, you're fine. The security is top-notch, and sometimes these boys just need to get it out of their system.
And how many of you work here?
There's 20 of us normally, 10 day and 10 night shifts. Our patients do need round-the-clock care, especially Jason, but we just put the hockey channel on for him because he loves his hockey.
Later on that day, I took the time to interview the Chief Registrar, Dr. Sam Loomis. No relation to the actual infamous Sam Loomis who treated Michael for many, many years. So, Dr. Loomis, please tell me, what's it like treating such individuals?
You're desperate to call them criminals, aren't you?
Well, yes. Is that not the case? Are they not criminals?
Well, at this moment in time, yes, but Once they've completed their time here, they will be completely rehabilitated, reconditioned to be integrated back into society. Then they will be our equals, no better and no worse than you or I.
Well, it's interesting that you seem to think these people will once again be allowed to walk the streets free as a bird. Surely, for what they did, would have warranted life imprisonment or even the death penalty.
Well, you clearly haven't done your own work. What's the point in using the death penalty when they cannot die? Michael was shot 6 times in the heart and twice in the head. Freddy was decapitated. And Jason was blown into tiny pieces. They still come back for more. We think they've got real staying power.
So you're saying these people are immortals?
No. The aging process will still take effect. But in their current state, they are so strong that nothing keeps them down for long.
Fascinating. So what you're saying is, if they were to be reconditioned, their powers could be used as a force for good?
Well, sort of. We don't want them getting any ideas of grandeur. But, well, for example, Jason is incredibly strong, and he could do something in the heavy lifting trade.
And what about Michael and Freddy?
Freddy, well, quite possibly could do something in the entertainment industry. Well, as long as it doesn't involve children. Michael, on the other hand, is a difficult case. He clearly shows great signs of intelligence and strength, but sadly, he hasn't really spoken since he was 11 years old.
Well, why do you think that is? Dark, demonic presences taking over his soul and rotting it to the core, evil that bubbles over inside a black mass of death and depravity, or...
No, he's just lazy.
Lazy?
Oh, he clearly can talk, but sadly he has a childlike mentality which involves him just grunting whenever the nurse or myself ask him something. Oh, he can talk, he just needs to book his ideas up.
And what sort of work do you think he'd be capable of?
Well, with his intelligence, a desk job maybe, something in the civil sector. But realistically, we're probably looking at a fast food establishment, probably middle management.
Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Cut Above the Rest. We've met some of the medical staff, but what about the real heroes? The chaps that literally put themselves on the firing line every day. We are, of course, talking about the security staff. Brave men and women handpicked to keep the inmates at bay. Let's have a little chat with a few of them.
Now, I know you're probably both wanting to get back with your tea break. I do appreciate the time you've given me today. Tell me, what's it like to maintain such high security standards in an establishment like this?
Well, in all fairness, it's not too bad. Pays the bills. Some of the injuries you get are just par for the course.
Steve got stabbed, didn't he?
Yeah, right in the throat. Talks with one of those box things now.
He sounds like Dalek, you know, Doctor Who, eh?
Don't forget Keith.
Oh,
What happened to Keith?
poor Keith.
He got his head pushed into some liquid nitrogen and then had it smashed against the wall.
Oh, wow, well, that sounds horrific.
It was. He turned into like little crystals.
You got one in your shoe, didn't you?
Oh, yes, that's right. Right in foot, hurt like hell. Let's not forget Colin.
Less said the better.
What happened to Colin?
Colin Da, as we call him now.
Sorry, I don't follow.
Well, that bloody Michael had set up cheese wire all over the kitchen. Colin went running in to investigate a noise and, well, he ran straight through it.
Didn't need body bag for that one.
Just a shovel and a couple of them plastic bags.
Not the best way you want your husband presented to you.
Did his wife have to identify the body?
Oh, no. But we had to deliver him to her in beanbag.
What?
Company policy.
So anyway, have you had any sort of personal interaction with the inmates?
Well, you had to read Jason bedtime stories for a bit.
Not part of my usual remit, but when you are on nights, it doesn't really matter. It's very quiet.
Oh, that Freddy is a noisy bugger though, isn't he?
Oh, do not get me started. We had to restrain him a couple of times.
And what happened there?
Well, the great Dr. Loomis thought it could be a good idea use Freddy's skills down in the catering section. We sometimes let inmates get involved with day-to-day running, cleaning, etc.
And what happened there?
He thought that with his expertise with knives in his hands, he'd be good at chopping veg, etc.
And I take it this didn't work
Not in
out.
the slightest. How many got stabbed that day?
14, was it not?
13. Technically, one of them wasn't stabbed. He just had his head put in the potato peeler.
Oh, yes. Pete Simmons. Yes, Shredded Pete, we call him now. Or we used to call him.
So, are you going to be interviewing them?
Well, that was the plan, yes, once we have the clearance.
They're all right, once you get on their level.
Aren't you worried about being killed?
Nah, it's all part of job. Every night I go home and I think, I made it through another day.
Most jobs are like that, though.
Yes. You didn't laugh, you cry.
I was somewhat amazed, yet baffled by what was going on here. The staff all seemed to have such a blasé attitude. Could the inmates seem as calm and collected as they were being made out to be? Am I potentially in danger? Was Dr. Loomis's idea of a better future where once the criminally insane walk side by side with the average person in the street? I guess there's only one thing left to do, and that's to meet these people.
Thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. I know this may be quite tough.
No, not at all. It's nice to be acknowledged, finally.
Oh, I have so many questions. I don't know where to begin.
That's fine. Fire away. Everyone thinks I'm going to stab them, but I assure you that is certainly not the case.
Well, that is good to know. I guess. Shall we start at the beginning?
Yeah, sure. Well, born in 1948, so getting on a bit now. I was raised by my mother, Pamela. Oh, Pammy, wonderful woman. Then in 1958, there was an incident involving a lake. Everyone thought I'd drowned, and I'd remembered a lot of what I'd been taught at the summer camp, and I got ashore and woke in the woods near Crystal Lake.
Okay, and so what was that like?
What? The drowning experience or surviving in the woods for 22 years?
Oh, shall we start with your mother?
Pammy was amazing. She doted on me. After all, I wasn't like the other boys.
In what way?
Does that answer your question?
I'm so sorry. That wasn't very professional of me.
No, it's fine. I'm quite used to it. I'd only ever show my face off if I had to. Anyways, where were we?
Your mother, Pamela.
Ah, yes. Well, That woman would do anything for me. She always wanted what was best, despite everything. She knew I was different and that I wasn't going to get along with the other kids, but one summer, she decided to send me off to that lake.
And when was this?
1958. I just turned 10. At first it all seemed rather pleasant. Sunshine, canoeing, archery, all rather wonderful. But boys being boys, the name calling started.
And what did they call you, if you don't mind me asking?
The usual stuff. Freak, mongoloid, big-eyed Voorhees. I guess I deserved it.
Well, yes, you're probably right.
What?
I mean, you're probably right. It was just boys being boys.
I tried my best to fit in. But have you ever tried firing a bow and arrow with one eye bigger than the other?
No, I can't say I have.
Well, it's no picnic, I can tell you. Anyway, I decided one day to go for a little walk on my own, just to explore the wildlife, try and catch bugs in a jar and examine them, that sort of thing. Little did I know, I'd be eating them soon enough. Some of the boys from the camp followed me. I stupidly thought they wanted to be friends. Oh, how wrong I was.
Go on.
Well, one of them began to push me, and as I fell to the ground, the others began to kick me and spit on me. I managed to get back up again, and they chased me all the way to the jetty. I fell in the water and, well, the rest is history.
So how can you explain your disappearance for 20 years?
At that age, I wasn't the sharpest tool in the box. I couldn't find my mother, but I knew the woods, and I made a home in a little abandoned shack and lived off the earth for the next 2 decades.
So how did you survive?
I learned to hunt, and I could make fire. I was pretty resourceful.
Did you ever try to go back?
I did in later years, but I became so isolated I didn't know how to interact with other people.
So when did the killings start?
Not until I was older, probably in my late 20s. Little did I know that my mother was bunking people off left, right and centre on the other side of the lake. In about 1979, I think it was then that they decided to open the lake again, to my mother's utmost horror.
Oh, so the original killings were nothing to do with you?
Not in the slightest, old chap. They were all Mummy. She was trying to avenge my death, but little did she know I was still kicking about. But as I've said, I was too frightened to confront her or others. I tried to talk to one of them, though, a young girl. I swam up behind her canoe. Maybe in hindsight, grabbing around her neck and pulling her into the water wasn't the best approach. As soon as I heard the ambulance sirens, I was out of there again.
Oh, tell me about the girl. What was her name?
Alice, I think. She was probably quite nice.
Probably.
Well, she did cut my mother's head off with a rowing oar, but only in self-defence. After all, she had gone a bit balmy.
Did you ever try to contact Alice after you came back to civilization?
I went to her house and I put on my best shirt and dungarees. I stuck a bag on my head and I was confident, but not that confident. Jason, I said to myself, Jason, you are never going to meet people unless you buck up your ideas and just get back out there.
And how did that go for you?
I won't lie, not great. I'd popped over with a bottle, hoping to break the ice, and don't ask me why, but I thought it'd be a great idea to bring my mum's severed head with me, so that I could put it in the fridge along with the bottle. I let myself in, went to the loo. Alice was in the shower, and when she saw me, she screamed. I tried to calm her down, the only way I saw fit.
And how was that?
I stabbed her in the head with an ice pick.
I see.
I know what you're thinking, but I had tried to make an effort, but she screamed. So therefore, she had to die. That was my theory anyway. So, off I pop, back to Crystal Lake, back to my little shack, and I sat, and I cried.
Oh, that must have been very tough for you.
Oh, it was a nightmare. But then later that week, some more people turned up, more camp counsellors. I thought, great, now's your chance, JC boy. Time to make some real friends.
And how did that work out for you?
What do you think?
Oh, right. Sorry, yes. Silly question.
It's fine. Basically, what happened is I tried to talk to them, but I just kept scaring them. Waiting for them in their beds or in their wardrobes isn't socially acceptable, apparently.
Oh, did you just try to say hello?
Well, back then I was still pretty new to this whole meet and greet malarkey. And I guess seeing someone in your bed with a bag over their head probably is a little intimidating.
Well, according to the reports, you did find some interesting and inventive ways of killing people. Did you want to elaborate on that?
They weren't interesting ways at all. Looking back now, they were just lazy and bloody haste because I was scared.
Oh, did any particular murder stick in your mind? Something that you deeply regret?
Oh, during that whole incident when that you really break down, they were all just stupid kids who just wanted to have sex and take drugs, and they were no great loss to society. You could say that about all of my so-called incidents.
Well, there was one, though, according to reports that stuck in your mind. Do you want to talk about that?
If I must, yes. There was a young lad called Mark. Poor chap was in a wheelchair. It was raining outside, and I tried to get his attention by rustling some bushes. As he came closer, I put my hand out to say hello, but instead, I accidentally put a machete right through his face.
How do you accidentally put a machete through someone's face?
As I say, it was dark and raining. I wasn't really thinking.
I see. Are you okay to continue?
If I can remember it at all, it seemed to rear my ugly head every few years or so. But all of my so-called incidents became quite samey.
Well, try to remember key moments.
Okay, so it would have been about late 1982, early 83. I had been hiding out at the cabin near Crystal Lake, having not seen anyone for some time, until one day some young kids turned up. Here we go again, I thought. But then it dawned on me that I'd recognised one of them from years back. She was pleasant enough.
Oh, and what happened?
But what do you think? I tried to talk to her, but she just ended up being beaten with a log. She got away from me. Why doesn't anybody like me? But then, this was the real turning point for me. One of the kids had a hockey mask.
Oh, the one you're wearing now?
The very same.
Oh, it's amazing how it's lasted so long.
A dab of glue here and there, but it's been through the wars, I can tell you.
So you said this was your turning point. In what way?
I basically just thought bollocks to them, and I lost my rag, excuse my French.
So this is when you started killing and meant it, and started to sport your trademark hockey mask.
Exactly.
So how did you deal with this group of youngsters?
Oh, now let me see. Electrocution, stabbed with a poker, slit throat, chopped in half, stabbed with a pitchfork, stabbed from under the bed, is always my favourite, crushed skull, and a harpoon gun right through the eye.
So what was next on the agenda for Jason?
Oh, normal scenario. Police and paramedics turned up. Only this time I was taken with them. I pretended to be dead, but I was just biding my time. I got to the hospital and was taken straight to the morgue for examination. From there, I stabbed a nurse to death with a scalpel and hacked the head off a surgeon with a bone saw. I then made my escape and, just for the hell of it, stuck a tent peg through the neck of a fat hitchhiker. Now that was fun. I'll tell you one thing about this case, though, which really bothers me.
Is it the pure amount of killing and destruction you caused?
No. The fact that the papers printed this as the Friday the 13th killer strikes again. Yes, I'll admit I tended to do a lot of my killing on that date, but this all took place on Saturday the 14th. If you want to run a story on me, at least get the facts right.
I see. So, you made your way back to the lake?
Yes. I stopped at some nearby cabins where a young kid and his older sister and mum were staying, and just next door were, again, you guessed it, some kids out for a good time.
And the usual happened.
Yes, hacked them to pieces one by one, threw one out of the window, and oh yeah, that was great fun.
Oh, and tell me about Tommy J.
Ah, yes, the little shit that caused me grief through another 2 of my escapades. He really got underneath my skin. I'm quite sensitive, you know, but when he shaved his head and pretended to be me, well, that really got me.
In what way?
It took me right back to being bullied again. Then, when I was at my weakest, he stuck a machete, my machete, I might add, straight into my skull.
Yet you made a miraculous recovery.
Yes. Sent Tommy balmy, though. What really annoys me is that even when I was on downtime, I was still getting blamed for things.
Oh, how so?
A few years later, Tom Tom was sent to a mental asylum. Apparently, the events of 1984 were too much for him. But my timeline starts to get a little fuzzy from here. But all I know is that there is some guy going around hacking people up in my style. But I wasn't even me. Read the reports, it turns out it was some paramedic whose son was killed at the asylum. He went a bit bonkers and started bunking off kids one by one. I'll admit, some of his killings were actually quite interesting. I mean, tying a belt round a tree and round a man's head and crushing his scalp was a little ingenious. I was slightly jealous, I won't lie.
So was this the last you saw of Tommy?
No, it wasn't. I had been dead for some years, don't ask. And Tom Tom, in his infinite wisdom, thought it would be a great idea to make sure I was finally dead. He came to my grave with the intention of cremating me. Oh, how stupid he was. He stuck a metal fence post right through me in some sort of mental rage, and suddenly a lightning bolt come down, conducted the post, and then the sudden jolt of electricity awoke me from my supposed eternal slumber.
Wow, it really sounds like you went through it.
This was quite interesting, actually. They decided to reopen that lake, which was rather foolish. Another group of camp counsellors, therefore, another massacre. That bloody Tom Tom knew how to deal with me again, though. Oh, I'd love to get my hands on that little scamp.
Oh, what happened?
He stuck a chain round my neck, which was attached to a boulder, which dragged me down to the bottom of the lake, where I laid, waiting until next time.
Well, I do really appreciate you talking to me, Jason, but time is getting on.
No, I totally understand. All of my stuff got a bit samey after that. There was the incident with the girl who had telekinesis. She threw me against railings, electrocuted me, threw a tree at me and shot a nail gun in my face. Then her dead father comes back from the lake to drag me back down to the murky depths. That was weird. I went to Manhattan for a bit as well, but not a lot really happened there. Turns out I'm not a fan of toxic waste, though.
Well, I would really love to go into your encounter with Freddy.
Oh, yes. As the press called it, Freddy versus Jason. Me and him laugh about that now. It was all a bit silly. He wanted his powers back. I wanted mine back. I think that's how the story goes. He dragged me to hell, you know.
Really? You actually went to hell?
Well, no, it was more of a dream-like state where Freddy was very much in charge. But after that, we were then both brought here, and the rest, as they say, is history.
So, what's next on the agenda for Jason?
I'm very much taken to gardening. I do a flower arranging course 3 times a week. I'm getting on a bit now. Time to put the machete down and pick up a pair of secateurs.
And what will you do when you get out?
Oh, bearing in mind I've been here since 2002, it has taken me a long time to get to where I am mentally. But do you know what? I feel great.
That's good to know. So when was the last time you killed anyone?
Late 2002. It was Freddy, ironically. I chopped his head off, but lo and behold, he was fine. He's a cheeky little dream demon.
Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Cut Above the Rest. So that was Jason, the hockey mask wearing, machete wielding maniac from the lake. A man with some severe issues surrounding his mother and confronting other members of the human race. But all in all, despite the murder of over 100 innocent people, accidental or otherwise, seemed like a decent chap. So where do we go from here? Do we try and make contact with the shape, the white masked stabbing maniac known as Michael? Or the nightmare stalking and inducing knife-fingered burned terror simply known as Freddy? Tough call. But it seems as Freddy is the most talkative of the bunch, let's take a look and see what makes him tick.
Freddy, the one and only, thanks so much for taking part in this.
No problem whatsoever.
So no hat or stripy pullover, I see.
No, just a plain white top. That's their policy. You'll also notice that I am sans glove and knives.
Yes, well, that's understandable.
Still can't quite get used to it, to be honest. I feel a bit naked without them.
Oh, well, they were a little dangerous in all fairness.
Well, I suppose you're right, yeah, but I made them myself, you know. It's like building your own chest of drawers and then someone telling you can't put anything inside it. Slightly infuriating.
Did a chest of drawers ever butcher or terrorize hundreds of children?
Touche, sir.
So shall we start at the beginning?
Cool. Let's going back a bit.
Well, just where you can.
Well, I was a caretaker in a local school. Spent a lot of time in the boiler room, you know. Strange, really. Lots of caretakers had their offices in boiler rooms. Do you know how bloody hot it is in there?
I can't even begin to imagine.
No, it's not pleasant, I can tell you. Anyway, some of the parents thought I'd been up to something with some of the kids.
Up to something?
You know, in an offenderish kind of way.
I see, right.
But I can assure you that wasn't the case. You know how children can be. Nasty, spiteful little shits sometimes. I mean, I used to clean up their vomit, chewing gum, and any other mess they'd made throughout the day. Never complained, and I was always pleasant and polite to all the kids, and the teachers for that matter. But oh no, you can't even be friendly nowadays without someone thinking you're a weirdo.
Were you ever close to the children at all?
Well, I was always polite. I always used to get their footballs off the roof and get rid of the spiders from the toilets. I was always there. Morning, Fred, they'd say, and I'd always give them a little nod and a smile. But there was this one particular child who gave me no end of drama. Nancy, her name was. Oh, my God. She was spiteful. Made my life a living hell.
Is this Nancy?
Yeah, that's the one. Awful girl. You know, she went home one day and told that old drunk of a mother of hers that I'd touched her. I mean, me, of all people. after all I did for all them kids. Well, little did I know that her dad was the deputy sheriff for the local police force. She also got all the other kids to play along with her, told all their parents and all.
So were you taken in for questioning?
Was I balls? I was working late one night and the parents all turned up with Molotov cocktails. They threw them in through the boiler room window and I was burned alive.
So there wasn't a trial and so forth?
Not in the slightest. But I swore that I would come back one day and take my revenge. But in a way like no other. See, Jason and Michael preferred the stabbing method, but I wanted to be a little bit more creative. So I made a deal with some satanic forces and was given the power to terrorize and kill these kids in their dreams.
So these satanic forces, they helped you seek your revenge?
Well, to a degree. But they said I already had enough hatred inside me to be as powerful as I wanted. Yeah. See, it was the fear of the kids that made me stronger. The more scared they were, the stronger I became.
Fascinating. So when did your streak of revenge begin?
Must have been about 1984. Yeah, Nancy and her mates had just turned 16, and I thought to myself, right, now is the time to teach that little cow and her awful mates some lessons.
So who was the first to go?
Young girl by the name of Tina, Nancy's best friend. Ooh, I got her a couple of times, you know, the old slash across the arms and the chest. But I wasn't quite strong enough to kill her, so she wasn't quite scared enough of that point.
And when did you finally get around to killing her? How did that feel?
Oh, it felt great. I felt liberated. I felt like I could take on the world. Yeah, anything and anyone.
So how did you deal with the others?
Well, after dragging Tina across the bedroom walls and the ceiling and slashing her into little pieces, I got a bit cocky. I mean, Nick was quite good fun. I strangled him to death with his prison bedsheets, and then I made it look like suicide. Oh, Nancy's boyfriend Glenn, that was my favourite. He fell asleep on the bed with his headphones in, and I thought, great, I've got you now. So I dragged him through the bed into the dream world, hacked him to little pieces, and then shot his bloody remains out through the hole. Oh, it was marvellous. There was blood everywhere. Up the ceilings, in the light fittings, you name it, it got blood on it.
But it wasn't quite over, was it?
No, not quite. See, Nancy realised that if she was holding on to something of mine when she woke up, she could bring me through into the real world.
Oh, yes, the report says she defeated you with a system of bloody traps, trip wires, booby traps, etc.
Yeah, real Scooby-Doo stuff.
Yeah.
I just wasn't ready. Foolish to think I was, but I would return. Oh, yes. I would be coming back. I made sure of that.
Yes, and you did a year later. So the report states that you continue to dwell in the demonic realms of the house. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, basically, all buildings have a presence about them, demonic or otherwise. I just stuck around, biding my time until the next lot of people moved in. This time it was a young lad called Jesse and his parents. Jesse was a bit of a strange one. I mean, between you and me, I don't think he was all that comfortable with his sexuality. I mean, he continuously chased after this girl called Lisa, but he clearly had a bit of a thing for his best mate called Ron. I mean, I think he made some interesting lifestyle choices later in life.
Oh, tell me more about this.
To be honest, it was quite dull, really. I mean, pretty much the same as my last escapade.
And how you did manage to come through to the real world again, though?
Yeah. I mean, I slashed a load of kids to death at a barbecue. That was reasonably fun, I suppose, yeah.
And so when did you next appear?
Late 87, yeah. I was stalking some kids in their dreams at a mental hospital. They were easy targets. I turned one of them into a marionette puppet with his own veins, threw him off a clock tower, Oh, yeah. That's also when I put a girl's head straight through a TV. Still my most favourite kill to date.
Ah, yes, the welcome to primetime bitch line.
Yeah, the papers got hold of that one rather quickly. Anyway, the rest of this little group got themselves together and called themselves the Sleep Defenders or something like that. Cheesier than a crate of brie. Oh, and you'll never guess who was the head of this little group.
Who?
Nancy bloody. She was working as a sleep psychologist or some such bollocks. I wasn't really that interested. But anyway, she took the rest of these kids into the dream world and taught them how to deal with me. I mean, I did away with a few of them, but I just wasn't strong enough. And, they were too smart, too clever, too strong for me. Well, maybe I just wasn't cut out to be a murderer anymore. Maybe I should have given up with demons and stuck with domestos.
So, what was next for Freddy?
Yeah, I had a few interesting comebacks through the late 80s. Nothing spectacular. I mean, I did meet my own mother. That was quite interesting, I suppose. Turns out she was a Catholic nun who denounced Satan. She had a child, me, who was to grow up to be the epitome of pure evil.
Well, I can certainly say that after meeting you, that's not the case.
Ah, that's very kind of you to say so. I mean, not a bad guy. Always tried to do good, but sadly, I just let my bloodlust get in the way. Happens to the best of us. I guess I tried too hard.
Well, I was speaking to Jason earlier about the whole Freddy versus Jason saga. How do you think that all came across in the media? Did you fare well afterward?
I mean, it was all a bit funny, really. I mean, like the tabloids blew it out of all proportion. I mean, Jason and I just wanted to restore some balance. That was all. I mean, we weren't bad people, but every small town needed a villain. Problem is, kids weren't scared of us anymore. We were very much a construct of the 1980s slasher generation. But as soon as mobile phones and Zoom and hybrid cars come along, well, we were obsolete.
Well, in some way, surely that's a good thing.
But yes and no. I mean, all right, I'll admit there was a lot of murder, but also we didn't want to take over the world. Just, wanted to hurt those that had wronged us.
Well, even innocent people who weren't aware of you.
Well, they were even worse than the ones that were scared. I mean, it's more of an insult to not be recognised than it is to not be remembered. Freddy who, they'd say? Oh, it used to bore my blood.
So what's next on the agenda for Freddy?
Well, I mean, I've nearly finished my 20 years here, so I found myself quite taken with the catering section. I used to do a mean meatballs and pasta. I mean, admittedly, the meatballs were made from the small heads of children, but if you can look past that, then you're fine. I find the tin stuff works just as well.
A job in a kitchen as a chef then, or maybe start your own catering business?
Well, both are possibilities. I mean, it's amazing that since I've been here, I've really discovered who I am. I'm not just some grueling child murdering maniac, but actually, I'm quite a delicate flower. I only want to help people. See, that's what Loomis is always trying to get out of his patients. The very best. Even in the evilest of circumstances. If there is even the smallest amount of good left inside you, he'll find it. Oh, group therapy's helped a lot and all.
Group therapy? Is it wise that you're all in the same room together?
Well, at the beginning, I wouldn't have said so. But now the medical staff feel very confident to have us all in the same room together. Care of very insecure delinquents. Code.
Right. Have there been many incidents at these classes?
Only minor ones. Probably the worst was when Michael stuck his thumb through the forehead of a nurse.
That's pretty serious.
I mean, only if she died. She does have a bit of a wonky eye now, but apart from that, it's all pretty tame. We all just sort of sit in a circle and talk about our feelings, Sometimes it can get a bit deep. Jason was like 7 foot tall and the size of a small van. Now, he's skinny as a rake and he breaks down in tears quite often. Soft as shit that boy is now, especially when talking about his mother. I mean, don't get him started on that subject.
Yes, he did seem rather attached.
Attached? Damn right creepy, if you ask me. I mean, fancy taking her severed head on a date. He's nuts. Nice guy, though, deep down.
So, do you think I'd be able to take a look at one of these group sessions?
No, don't see why not. I mean, there's not many of us here at the moment. Like, Chucky went off after doing his time to see the world, you know. He'll be back. It's that girlfriend of his, see? She keeps leading him astray. Last time I heard, he was touring the industrial district of China.
Any other famous people?
Well, funnily enough, Annie is one of our head counsellors here.
Sorry, the woman who kidnapped the writer and broke both of his ankles and then killed the local sheriff.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. Heart gold, though, Annie. Just goes to show, doesn't it? She tours all over the country, right? Giving self-help and advice and stuff, but she always comes back here to give her much-needed expertise. Not to mention Pinhead, he's still here. Got told he could leave years ago as he posed no threat. He does the teas now.
Oh, so when is the next session?
It's right at 4 o'clock today.
Excellent. I shall be there. Thank you for talking to me today, Freddy.
Anytime, Chief.
Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Cut Above the Rest. Well, that was Freddy, the nightmare demon who stalks and kills people in their dreams, who chills people to the very core of their soul. Turns out all he wanted was a cup of tea and somewhere to cook. I'm rather excited yet anxious about being in a call with all these characters. I've been told I'm not allowed to talk and I'm there purely to observe. But this should be rather interesting.
Hi, Annie.
Oh, don't worry, Samantha isn't joining us today.
Do that.
Oh, well, here we are again, and it's so lovely to see all of your smiling faces. Well, at least I think you're smiling. Well, what we're going to do today is we're going to take it in turns and we're going to say what we have been up to today. Now, remember, I'd like to put your thumbs up when you'd like to speak. But Jason, let's start with you.
I did some crochet.
Wonderful. Any particular theme?
Yes, a machete.
Oh, well, that's lovely, Jason. Now, you won't harm anyone with that now, will you? Now, somebody else with their thumbs up. Michael, let's just have you. What have you been up to today? Sorry, Michael, can you speak up?
Reading. I read something, all right?
And what did you read?
A magazine.
A magazine? How lovely. What was it about? Cars? Motorbikes?
A magazine.
A magazine? Oh, how lovely. What was it about? Cars, motorbikes?
Stabs and stabbings. They did a list, right, of the 100 greatest serial killers of all time. I was number 86. It's done out of order.
Okay, Michael, now settle down.
Oh, where did I come?
Jason, you don't have your thumbs up.
I don't know, you came like 90th or something, mate.
Oh, well, it's just nice to be recognised.
You didn't have your thumb up before, Jason, so...
Sorry.
You've done me now, move on.
Okay, well, I'm seeing a lot of the same thumbs up here, but Freddy, lovely. What did you get up to today?
Oh, apart from talking to the nice chap at the documentary, I jotted down a few recipes about root and rhubarb crumble. Yeah, I want to get a bit of spice to it. Last time I melted a poor girl's face off. So.
Oh my goodness, what did you use?
Potassium.
Well, that's wonderful, Freddy, and it also sounds delicious, but I'll have mine without the potassium, thank you. You know, trying to watch my figure.
No one else will, you ugly bitch.
Sorry, Michael?
Nothing.
You didn't have your thumb up, Michael, so I shan't tell you again. So now we're going to play a little word game where you shout out things that make you angry, and I'm going to write them up on the board here. So we'll start with you, Jason.
Teenagers. My face.
Nancy.
What about dogs?
Michael, I didn't quite get that, sorry.
Dogs, for God's sake, dogs.
Lovely, dogs. Okay, and has anyone else got anything?
Neglect.
Oh, good one, Jason. Oh, neglect is something that scares us but also makes us angry. But it's really good that we have those feelings, because after all, it proves that we are human. Now, what do you think we can do if someone feels unneglected by us?
Say hello.
Very good. Politeness is everything to some people.
Smiling.
Yes, and I'm sure you have a lovely smile.
Doesn't he? Looks like somebody fist fucked a monkey's arsehole.
That's not very nice, Michael.
You always have to spoil things, don't you? I preferred it when you weren't even talking.
That's fine by me, mate. I was silent when I joined this Zoom meeting. I'll be silent when I leave.
Jason, you all right, mate?
Yes, thank you. I'll be fine.
Right, gentlemen, we were all doing so well. Now let's not try to lose that, shall we? Now, Michael, I'd like you to apologise to Jason.
Sorry.
I didn't quite hear that.
Oh, God, sorry.
Thank you.
Now, we were talking about what makes us feel wanted and what we can do to make other people feel good. Shall we continue?
Oh, apologies make people feel better.
That's right. Regardless to whether you're right or wrong, sometimes it is better just to apologise and move on.
I wish I could say that to some of my victims.
Oh, it's so good that you feel that way, and that's what makes you a better person. The person that you are today. Look, try not to feel regretful, but to just realise that what you've done is wrong, and that is sometimes good enough just to make you feel at peace.
Bollocks.
Sorry, Michael.
Nothing.
Now, today we have something very special for you all.
Oh, goody. What is it, cake?
No, it's something, or should I say someone, a lot sweeter. Now, some of you may remember him as he did used to be an inmate here, but he has now fully reformed himself and is here to tell you how you can do the same. So, shall we give a full, warm welcome to our special guest, Leatherface?
Hi guys, thanks for having me. Now I'm here to talk to you lot about getting back out there and becoming a part of what I like to call the real world. Give us a big cheer if that's what you want.
Hooray!
Now, do you lot see that car outside? That red Sport? That's mine. You know how I got that? Working my arse off. Making connections, making deals, rubbing shoulders with the elite. That certainly didn't come out on a Christmas cracker.
Oh.
Go ahead, Sport.
Hi, Jason, big fan. Now, you probably get asked this a lot, but what do you think I need to become as successful as you? I mean, you look great, sharply dressed, well-built, great attitude. I want to be as confident as you.
I like your attitude. You see this suit? My suit is the best suit money can buy. £2,500 to be precise. And to be like me, it isn't too difficult. I'm nothing special. Now, everyone probably remembers me from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre incidents, the cannibalism, hacking people to death. And let's not get me started on my family, you certainly can't choose them. You have to learn to make sacrifices. Me, I substituted family for friends or work associates. I stopped eating people and started eating caviar. I put down that chainsaw and I picked up a pen.
Mr. Face.
Please, call me Leather.
Mr. Leather. The class and myself are wondering that why you still retain the mask.
Now, that is a good question. You'd probably think, with all the money, I'd have to be able to afford a decent plastic surgeon. But to tell you the truth, I quite like my face the way it is. It reminds me of a past I must never go back to. But in a strange way, it tells you not to forget where you come from.
So inspiring. Thank you. I think we can all learn something from Mr. Leather.
No problem. Now, what I want to do is called a role-playing game. I need one of you as a volunteer. You'll do. What's your name?
Jason or Jay, or everyone calls me Jay, or the J-Man.
No one calls you that.
Okay, now Jason, I'm just an average member of the public. You're going to say hello to me and ask if I would like to purchase a newspaper. Do you think you can handle that?
He can't even fucking read.
That's enough, Michael.
Yes, I think I've got it.
Good, good. So you just stand there, have this newspaper in your hand, ready to sell to me. Have you got it?
Yep. Ready?
Right, here we go. Morning. Yeah, that's not quite how we practiced it, is it?
What was I doing wrong?
First off, you didn't smile or greet me after I said morning to you. Then you proceeded to try and stab your first customer to death with the newspaper.
I am so sorry. I'm a bit new at this.
That's fine, dude. Baby steps, baby steps.
Do you mind if we go again?
Not at all. Now, do you remember where we were? I say morning, and you greet me with a smile and say, morning, sir. Would you like to buy a newspaper?
Morning, sir. Would you like to buy a newspaper?
Good, good, right. Okay, here we go. Morning.
Morning, sir. Would you like to buy a newspaper? Okay. Sorry, what was the line?
It was, good morning, sir. Would you like to buy a newspaper?
Right, sorry. Once more. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
It's cool, it's cool. Right, here we go. Morning.
Morning, sir. Would you... Oh.
Okay, so what do we think went wrong there?
Was it the stabbing motion again?
It was the stabbing motion again.
I knew it.
It's fine, it's fine. You almost had it. The first few words came out, didn't they? But then it went a bit south, didn't it?
I know. It's always been the same for me. As soon as I start talking to someone, I have this overwhelming urge to stab them.
To a degree, most people in sales feel this way. Don't worry about it. We'll try it with someone else. Freddy, you'll do. Come on. Ah, yes. Freddy, you shouldn't still be here, should you? What's holding back, do you think?
I don't really know, to be honest.
You, Freddy, you're holding you back. Now, come on, you can do this.
I don't know.
Yes, you can. Come on now, show me that newspaper.
Okay, I got this.
Okay, good man. You saw what I was doing with Jason. It's the same thing.
Yeah, except I'll get the lines right.
Oh, you bitch.
Here we go. Morning.
Good morning, sir. Would you like to buy a newspaper?
Yes, I would, thank you.
Welcome to the presses, bitch! Ah! Ah! Ah!
You were doing so well. What happened?
I'm sorry. It's harder than it looks, isn't it?
It can be. You just have to believe in yourself.
What a load of crap.
Michael.
Oh, come on. Do you honestly think that any of this crap actually works? He's a fat, big-eyed freak with all the social skills of a potato, and he looks like he got into a food fight at a fondue party.
Michael, that is totally unacceptable. Do you want to go back into solitary?
I honestly don't care, you fucking fringe beast.
Michael, now why do you think this is all crap?
I just don't know. It just is, isn't it?
Why don't you come up here and show the others how it's done?
No, thanks.
Do it, Michael, or loss of privileges for 2 weeks.
For God's sake.
Come on. Right, Michael, you know the score?
Right, yeah. Newspaper. Got it.
Great. Morning.
Morning, sir. Would you want to buy a newspaper?
Yes, I do, thank you.
You see, it's not that bloody difficult, is it? Oh. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's harder than it looks, isn't it?
Hey! Hello, Mabey!
Oh, God, not her.
Now, I must apologise that I'm later than usual, but I have got the Kit Kats in. Now, it was the chunky one for you, wasn't it, Jason? And Freddy, was it just an Ovaltine for you or something?
Yes, thank you. Look, do you have to make so much noise? We're in the middle of a class.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry. I'll tell you what, I won't say another word, okay? Get an Ovaltine for people.
For God's sake, will you just...
Just ignore him, dear.
Look, we're about to make some real progress here, and all you're doing is going on about bourbons and stuff like that, yeah, right? Just piss off!
Oh! Would you like a bourbon?
No, I don't! Annie, will you do something about this oversized pincushion, please?
I'm sorry, Pinhead. I just think it might be better if you left. Maybe pop back later?
I'll have a
Do you know
bourbon if
what?
there's
I
one
don't
spare.
know why I bother. I honestly don't. I mean, do you know what? I've sat away here all day keeping you lot hydrated. I just don't know why I bother. But do you know why? Because I care about your well-being.
And we're all very grateful. How do I...
Now, no wonder you're still here, Freddy. Your attitude's appalling.
Yeah, well, your tea's appalling. It tastes like warm topsoil.
No, that's
the thing that makes the thing
dots.
happen.
The 3 dots.
Sorry, shall I go? I do have other appointments.
No, please stay. Pinhead was just going, weren't you?
Just mute him, Annie. Just the mute button.
Oh, yes, fine. I don't know why I should have stayed in the torture box, to be honest. I mean, honestly, I'd rather stay there with razor chains sharp into the wall and help you lot out.
How do I...
Just mute button, love. Just press the mute button. It's the one that says mute that looks like a mute button.
3 dots.
Video.
Now see what you've done.
Well, get some my wick.
Is he, you know, like a bit?
Is he what, Michael? Is he what?
You know, a little bit Philip Schofield, a little bit Michael Barrymore, a little bit woo.
No, I don't think he is. I mean, does he make interesting lifestyle choices? Does he enjoy the works of Barry Manilow and Holiday in Mykonos? Is that what you mean?
Now, gentlemen, let's settle down.
I really ought to be going. I'm down to judge a tree cutting contest at 4.
Yes, I'm sorry, right. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Leatherface?
Fascinating, truly fascinating. Never in all my years of interviewing people have I ever seen such cases. Ex-murderers now working as therapists and motivational speakers, and a group of supposed patients actually acting like normal human beings. To look at them, you wouldn't actually think they were capable of such atrocities. My final interview will be with the legendary figure that has stalked people for over 40 years. Some call him the Shape, others the Boogeyman, but most will know him simply as Michael.
Michael? Hello, Michael?
Hang on, let's have a go there. Oh, fucking hell.
Yes. Hi,
all
hi,
right.
Michael. Yes, hi. Thank you so much for taking part in today's interview.
So
So I have lots of questions, but rest assured, you don't have to answer anything you don't want to. Is that okay?
yeah, whatever.
Great, thanks. When were you born?
1957.
Oh, now, so you're 62.
Oh wow, your maths is spot on, mate.
Could you take us back to that fateful night in 1963, which involved your sister and her boyfriend?
Not really. I mean, Christ, that was years ago.
Well, if you could at least try, that'd be great.
Fine. When I was about 6, I started hearing voices in my head. They used to say silly little things like, kill them all! And if you murder them, then we can play together forever.
Fascinating. Do you still hear voices now?
No, not really. You tend to grow out of them. You know, that sort of thing. It's a bit like imaginary friends.
Quite. After you get caught by the police with a knife on Halloween night,
what's this?
then what happened?
Oh, this is awesome. Look at that. Oh, oh, no. No, hang on.
Sorry, it's just like...
Oh, look, after the Halloween night stuff, yeah? Well, I got taken to the mental hospital, and that's where I stayed until I was 21.
And what made you want to leave? Was it the voices?
No, they'd long gone. I just got a little bored of sitting around listening to that bald-headed twat Loomis just banging on every day. If you ask me, he got a little bit full on sometimes. Well,
in what way?
He started off as sort of a father figure, but then I realised that I was just some sort of guinea pig to him. So I thought, bollocks to this, I'm off. The security in that place was terrible. I don't mean in like some kind of pedo way. I mean they just weren't appropriate, you know.
So where did you go?
I went looking for her.
So you mean Miss?
That's her? You met her?
No, I haven't the fortune, but I would love to.
Don't bother. She is bonkers, and I'm pretty sure she's dead.
Oh, so why did you want to meet up with her?
Well, at the time, I assumed that she was my younger sister. I found out years later that she wasn't, but I thought at the time I could crash at hers. Turns out that she had changed her name and address and was also living with an entirely new mum and dad. I mean, bang out of order if you ask me.
Was realizing all this quite hard for you?
No, mate. I was well happy. I could barely control my smile. Of course, I was upset, you bellend. She pretty much erased me from history. She didn't have a clue who I was.
So what did you do then?
I tried to track her down. Always trying to stay one step ahead of Loomis, though. Wasn't difficult, silly old duffer. I then found out exactly what school she went to, but she was always with people and I had this mask on, so I couldn't exactly go over and start having a chat. Some might have said that would have seemed a little bit stalkerish.
But why didn't you take the mask off?
Well, that's a whole other story, right? I nicked this from a joke shop. It was supposed to be a William Shatner mask. I mean, everybody back then was into Star Trek.
It doesn't really look like a William Shatner.
I bloody know it doesn't. I stole it in the dark. I couldn't really see what I was picking up. There's me thinking I got a really cool James T. Kirk mask, but instead it looks like a badger shagging a tub of Philadelphia.
So why the mask at all?
Oh, I didn't exactly have a face I wanted to show off. The sort of face only a mother could love. Where the fuck she was. Also, I didn't really want to scare Laurie at first. And it was Halloween. Everybody had a mask on. Laurie wouldn't have had a clue it was me, which was perfect. I didn't want to frighten her. It would have been like the Elephant Man turning up and saying, "Hello, I'm your brother."
Okay, so the inevitable question, why all the killing?
Oh, Laurie didn't really want to know me. God knows I tried. I waited outside a school, a house. I even hid amongst her washing. But apparently that's a bit creepy. So I thought, sod it. If she's not interested in building bridges, I'll just butcher all of her friends instead. I'm already registered as mentally insane, so what's the worst that could happen?
Well, it sounds like you had all this figured out.
Yeah, sort of. I saved Laurie till last, right? I didn't want to kill her, and the original plan was to get all of her friends out of the way so I could talk to her. And in fairness to me, when I say get her friends out of the way, I meant wait until they weren't around. But that lot were like the Poxy Brady bunch, so I just stabbed them all to death. But I was so pissed off, I thought I'd just bump Laurie off as well.
But you didn't succeed.
No. Well, anyway, I mean, that night, Loomis had finally showed up at Laurie's home. He shot me 6 times right in the chest, not the heart, as he bellowed out at the top of his voice. I mean, Christ calls himself a doctor. I ended up falling backwards off the balcony, but I was well enough to get up and run away so that when he looked over the edge, I was gone. Later that night, Laurie was taken to the hospital, so I slowly worked my way through the town, just bumping off whoever I could to get to her.
Yes, you boiled a woman to death in a jacuzzi, didn't you?
I forgot about that. That was hilarious. What I couldn't understand was, why a hospital that big had no one in it. I mean, I did in about 5 nurses, a couple of paramedics, and 1 fat police officer. No great shakes, you know. Loomis, though, he was hot on me this time. He lured Laurie at gunpoint down to the basement to use as bait to catch me. I told you he wasn't all there, right? He let Laurie go and then starts shooting at me again.
Did he hit you?
Yeah. 2 shots, both eyes gone. Couldn't see a fucking thing.
Surely that would have killed a normal person at such close range.
A normal person, yeah. But I'm not normal. I don't know my own strength. I don't feel pain. Apparently, it's something to do with all the hate that bubbles up inside of me. I don't hate anyone. People just irritate me.
Please, continue with the hospital story.
All right. Mind your neck in. I'm getting there. I'm just trying to establish a sense of the mood. Anyways, right, Loomis, he had set off some oxygen tanks and he had a lighter. I thought he'd really lost it this time. Blew us both to pieces.
That sounds awful.
No, you don't know the half of it, pal. I came stumbling out and just collapsed. I put myself into a coma for 10 years.
10 years? Is that physically possible?
Well, no, it's not, but it wasn't technically a coma. And whilst I was in there, they sorted out my eyes and patched up all the burnt bits of skin. Otherwise, I'd have ended up looking like fucking Freddy.
So what happened after 10 years of slumber?
I was in a proper bad mood. I was more pissed off than ever. Whilst they were transferring me between institutes, I killed the 2 doctors in the back with me, and then when we crashed, I went back to Haddonfield. When I arrived, I had this feeling that something wasn't right.
In what way?
I don't know. I just kind of felt like Laurie was dead.
And was she?
So I was led to believe. A suicide or a car crash. I can't remember which. She had a daughter, though. Jamie, her name was. Sweet, sweet kid. She had to die. But I thought, if the family want nothing to do with me, then I've got to wipe them all out. So I spent the next 9 years trying to do her in. I never thought a 10-year-old could cause me so much trouble.
But why a child, Michael? Can she really cause you that much harm?
It's all to do with the bloodline. I wouldn't rest until my entire family had been wiped from existence.
Oh, that's pretty strong.
I suppose you're right. That's why being here is so good. It makes you realise that you don't have to kill people to be happy or to seek vengeance. Just be content with what you got and concentrate on the good things. I still won't admit that I'm wrong, though.
Oh, it's a very sensible attitude to have. Can I ask, if it's not too personal, why do you adopt this surly teenage-like persona?
It's because I'm bored, mate. I'm done with being here now. It's nice, don't get me wrong, but we're all supposed to be excited when Leatherface turns up as a surprise guest.
And aren't you?
No, not really. He's been a mystery guest 4 times in the last month. He's not as flash as he makes up. Yeah, all right, he drives a nice car, on finance, I might add. But he's not better than you or me. He lost loads of money at poker with Candyman.
Was Candyman ever an inmate in here?
So I heard. Bit of a gambling problem.
Was Candyman ever an inmate in here?
Yeah. Yeah, they tried with him, but they gave up. Every time they told him off or tried to give him some sort of therapy, he kept vomiting up bees. They had the exterminators out 7 times in 1 month. It wasn't cost effective to keep him here, apparently. I guess to a degree, though. He only turns up when you say his name 5 times in a mirror. So if you don't do that, you're laughing.
So, after the first incident with Jamie didn't work out, what happened then?
Well, after the townsfolk forced me to the top of an old mine shaft and shot me to pieces, I wasn't in the best frame of mind. I ended up getting picked up by some old guy who lived in a cabin in the woods, and I was with him for about a year. He fed and clothed me, though. Nice enough bloke, real solid.
Do you still keep in contact?
No, I can't, unfortunately, yeah.
Why is that?
I cut his head off.
I see.
I'd made my way back to Haddonfield, put on the old Shatner mask and started killing again. Only this time I felt more obliged to kill. Like I was being controlled by some higher order.
The voices again.
Sort of, but different. They weren't so much voices, but rather instincts instead. It turns out I'd been taken over by an evil cult. That's cult with an L. Not something you expect every day.
Oh yes, the report says they were the Cult of Thorn, is that correct?
That's the mob. The bloke who was their leader was a friend of Loomis's. And I forgot to mention that Loomis was still kicking about, balmier than ever. He tried to trap me and lure me as usual. This time, he used tranquilizer darts and a big net. Now, I can't be killed, but I am a sucker for a nap.
Oh, it says here that the cult broke you out of a prison. Is that correct?
Yeah, they threw me in the back of a van and kept me locked up for another 10 years. The chanting and occasional sacrifices were a blessing compared to Loomis constantly banging on.
And what happened to Jamie?
The cult caught her and she had some sort of ritualistic birth. Got knocked up by one of the cult members.
So what happened then?
Well, Jamie escaped. I was sent after her.
Did you catch up with her?
Finally, after years, I managed to get her.
And how did that go down?
Not great.
Oh, in what way?
I impaled her on a combine harvester.
Oh, that's awful.
Then I switched it on.
Oh, good grief.
Oh, yeah, she did not die peacefully. Her guts were flying everywhere. It was awesome. After that, I made my way back to Haddonsfield again, and only to discover people living in the old house. It was more the Strodes, or they might have been Myers. I lost track by this point, to be honest.
And how did you cope with that?
Well, I found myself quite emotionally attached to that house, as you can imagine. So I thought it only fair to kill them all off one by one so I could get my space back.
Oh, was there nowhere else you could have hidden? Or?
Probably. But I wanted my house back, didn't I? Also, the cult were desperate for me to find Jamie's baby. Again, more of the bloodline I needed to finish off. I also found my senses were at their strongest when I was at that house. Found out that Tommy Doyle kid that lived opposite Laurie in the 70s, well, he had it. He wasn't that sharp, though, so it wouldn't have taken long to sort him out, or so I thought.
Did he interfere with your plans?
Well, you don't know the half of it, mate. He knew all about my history. The cult of Thorn, Laurie, Jamie, all of it. Right little pain in the arse he was. And still, whilst all of this was going on, Loomis was chasing me down. Thankfully, later that year, he died of natural causes. Sad to a degree, but a blessing for me.
And what did you think Loomis wanted to do when he finally caught up with you?
Well, as I said, he got a little too close for comfort sometimes, you know. I reckon he wanted me locked up for good, so he could just sit and study me forever, until the day I die. But he was weird. Some days, he just wanted to sit and play Connect 4. And then others, he'd spend it all sticking probes in me. Swings and roundabouts, I guess.
Now, according to the report, you then laid low for a couple of years. Did you want to tell me about what happened after?
This is where it gets a little bit interesting, mate. Turns out my last 3 little misdemeanors were a complete waste of time.
In what way?
Well, Jamie wasn't even related to me, and no one to this day knows why she had a photo of Laurie in her bedroom. Very, very strange. And the whole cult of Thorn thing was just a big pile of nonsense. They had no power over me at all. They were just overexcited enthusiasts with some robes and chicken's blood. They did the same thing to other killers as well. I am so easily led.
So Jamie died unnecessarily.
Look, lots of my victims died unnecessarily. Her death, well, I just chalked it up. Also, I did enjoy killing. It's just not something I regretted.
Well, do carry on. What happened next?
I went back to Haddonfield after hiding out for quite some time, trying to get my shit together and reimagine myself, if you will.
And how did that work out for you?
Yeah, not great. I bummed off the nurse that used to help Loomis out with his studies on me. Nice old bird, really. Never did anyone any harm. It'd been 20 years since I'd last seen her. Slit her throat.
So your attempts to reach out to the people you'd long given up on?
Yeah, even people that played a big part in my history. So I did her in, and a couple of kids in the neighbourhood, one of which I stuck an ice skate through their face. My inventiveness may have been lacking, but an ice skate, well, that's never been done before. Up yours, Freddy and Jason.
So you then took a car to a nearby town where you made a pretty amazing discovery.
Oh, yeah. Turns out that Laurie wasn't dead after all. She had been working as a teacher and then a principal at a local school. You would not believe how delighted I was. I thought, right, I've got you now. No chit-chat, no time for social graces, just a quick stab in the face. And then back home in time for tea.
Well, let me guess, you were wrong.
Yeah, you got it. I picked off a few of the kids and her boyfriend, but then she beat the crap out of me and once again left me for dead.
Well, it says here something about stealing an ambulance.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Right? When one of the paramedics came in, I grabbed him by the throat, crushed his larynx so he couldn't talk, and then I knocked him out. I put my mask on him and left him there, and then I made my escape. Laurie thought it was me, so then she stole the ambulance with what she thought was me in the back and drove off. She crashed and then she cut off the poor paramedic's head. Silly bitch didn't even think to lift up the mask and see who it was. I left and didn't see her again for about 5 years.
Oh yes, the infamous 2002 reality show incident which was filmed at your house. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah. First things first, I went off to a mental health asylum, right? And it was of my own free will, I might add. And this was where Laurie was being held, right? I'd finally sent her gaga. I bumped off a couple of security guards to get to her, and then on the rooftop, she had set a trap for me. But unfortunately for her, I was well ahead of the game, right? I grabbed her as we both hung from the roof, and I stabbed her right in the spine. She gave me a kiss at the time, which admittedly was a little bit weird. But it wasn't my most imaginative of kills for my arch nemesis, but there was an overwhelming sense of satisfaction, you know?
But you got her, definitely.
Huh? Oh, shit, hang on. Yeah, no, I'd like to think I did. Yeah, but you never know in this crazy universe.
So back to the reality show.
That was a dreadful mess. I don't really want to talk about it, to be honest. I killed most of them one by one.
Well, then what happened?
I was taken on the morgue, right? Thought to be dead, and then I was brought here for rehabilitation. I've been here ever since, trying to make sense of it all.
But what would you like to do next?
Sort of. I'm not as fit as I once was. I'm over 60 now, you know, and I've put on a bit of weight, which hasn't helped. Well, Freddy and Jason have their cooking and gardening, but that's all a bit like, you know, whoop, for me.
Well, Loomis was saying something about in the civil sector.
Considering my past, don't you think doing a job with the word civil in the title might be a little bit ironic?
Oh, quite possibly. But yourself, you said you were a reformed character.
I am. Well, I was thinking about starting a serial killers publication, something that somebody could get on a monthly subscription, and then possibly staying here a bit longer and writing my memoirs. I get free bed and board here. If you can look past the occasional shock treatments, then, well, it's not too bad, really. You're fine.
Sounds like you have things all figured out.
Yeah, I know. I'll give them all a bit of a hard time here, but that's only because I'm bored, as I've already said. But yeah, I'll get there.
And what if Laurie were to show up again?
Do you know what? I'd probably give her the benefit of the doubt. I think enough water's passed after the bridge now.
And what if she doesn't see it that way?
Well, then that really is her problem. I can't afford to throw away my years of hard work and getting to where I am now as a person just because she decides to kick it all off over something that happened over 40 years ago.
Well, also in 98 and 2002.
Yeah, minor detail that, mate. Minor detail. Thanks for bringing it up.
Well, Thank you, Michael, for meeting you has certainly been enlightening.
Yeah, ta, mate, ta.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have met the big three. Jason, the hockey mask sporting deformed man-child from the lake. Freddy, the knife-fingered nightmare-inducing child murderer. And Michael, the ghost-faced babysitter stalking sheep from Illinois. They've stalked you in the woods, in your bedrooms, and even in your dreams. They've taken you to the depths of utter depravity, churned your stomach with their butchery and disgusting yet creative ways of dispatching helpless victims. But are they reformed? Ready to be introduced back into society? Some might say, considering their crimes, it might be a little too soon. But the younger generation would seem it suitable to fight for their right to be free once more. Ironic, isn't it, that a generation who once lived in fear of these people now want to set them free? Me, personally, I am still undecided, because I do feel you should always sometimes be cautious. Things sometimes may not be quite as they seem.
Boop.